When we're working with clients to create these third place building projects, these environments, they're really mixed use projects that have a bunch of different activities and experiences for different users that are being choreographed and put together in a very careful way while also allowing for discovery. And that's why, in so many ways, these are really ecosystems, not just these prescriptive equations of how things go together. It has to be a balance of the needs that we can sort of categorize and put into numbers and balance. But in reality, the ecosystem has to function in the wild. And to me, that's why understanding our mission, what is it that is our goal, is so critical, because this mission first mentality helps us answer the question of what do we hold on to versus what do we compromise on. So when I'm talking about these buildings as ecosystems, I'm really talking about it in the same way that an ecosystem would function. And what the difference is that in our case, it's all these different activities and also these different users. So you've got, new people, older people, people just starting, people who are parents, people who have been doing these different activities for generations. These are truly multi-generational, now Olympic sports, as well as much more sort of progressive wellness and sort of mindfulness oriented or even educationally oriented, both physical and mentally stimulating environments. And so it's this ecosystem that does have to feed off of itself, because each of these different users, each of these different profiles, everybody has their own story, their own experience, and they're bringing these different sort of desires and what they want to be doing with their time. It's all different. And so if you're someone who's going there, why are you going there? Is it because you're an expert or a professional, or is it your first time? Are you a parent dropping someone off? If so, then what do you do? Are you like, whatever the case is, the combinations need to sort of feed off of itself. And that's why, as an ecosystem analogy, that is really the series of stories that we're trying to tell, with what we add, what we remove, and how it all relates to itself. And it's changed over time, because when we look at, say, climbing, for instance, or skateboarding, these are Olympic sports now. And they're competing with all sorts of other activities that have really exploded or shown up or are being developed, including doing nothing, just sitting at home and watching streaming and watching whatever, or just not leaving the house. Like, what is it about these things that's compelling enough to get you out of the house? And what is it that you're putting in the facilities so that you're appealing to people before or after the activity, or if they're not participating in the activity, or if they just like to be around the activity? How is it that we can take care of both the generations that are coming, our immediate family, as well as like these much bigger events or much bigger visions for like how we can serve the greater community? What is it that we want to mix? What's the environment that we can create? How are we going to sort of put different things together so that we can really create the most compelling environment that people just want to become a part of? The idea of understanding our mission first is so important, because we have to understand what our deep goals are, what our real intent is, so that we can answer the questions of what do we hold on to and what do we compromise on? Because I can tell you that these conversations and these two questions come up almost immediately, because very quickly, if you're looking at it from a development point of view, a project development point of view, the drawings don't matter yet. The drawings, we can draw pretty things. AI can draw pretty things. That's not the point. There are vendors who will do a lot of different things for free. You can just Google images and put them together. That's not the point. The point is, in your situation, in your vision for your mission, what is it that we have to hold on to make sure that it actually works? And what is it that we can compromise on? Because the budget that you have to hit, or the ballpark that you might realize very quickly you're really playing on versus what you thought you could be doing, it really very quickly creates this question of what do we have to hold on to and what can we compromise on? And that's why, to me, starting with not drawings, certainly not, but working as what is our mission first, that's why that's so critical. And that's not the way that most architects work. That's not the way I was trained as an architect. But what I've found is that when we get to these questions, that baseline is critical, because The real question is, what is it that is the core and the essential aspect of us creating community and activating community, not because we're saying it's community. The community aspect comes afterwards. It comes after we get people together, after we bring people together and we attract them. The community develops out of that, not by saying so, but by doing it the right way and having the right mission, the right focus, the right things that we're holding on to, the right things that we can put off to later or do in another facility or just get rid of. That's why the community develops out of making the right decisions, not before we make those decisions. And this is why, engagement is also not a buzzword to me. It's about this long-term sustained engagement. And again, that's about creating an environment with the right activities and the right things that we have held on to, that we're bringing people together, not because we say so, but because that's what we are actually creating in the way that we mix these mixed use facilities, these right activities, the way that we create these environments. So that idea of mission first, and the two questions of what is it that we can get rid of, and more importantly, what is it that we have to hold on to? We have to be able to answer those questions at the beginning of any building design, building development project before we draw anything, because the drawings don't matter if they don't get very far. And I'll talk about that in another video. But the point is that if we don't understand that, that becomes the filter for us to make decisions, because especially today, budget is limiting so many projects in significant ways, and people are dreaming projects that are often way beyond their means. Even big budgets are being significantly cut in terms of like how far they can get you. And so because of that, understanding the mission and what that really means helps us answer those questions of what do we have to hold on to and what can we actually afford to get rid of when we really think about it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.